Can you imagine a world in which everyone lived their lives as Luke quoted Jesus on how to do it? A dream world that most could describe as being as close to heaven on earth as we're ever going to get in this world. His challenge is to live loving your enemies, doing good to those who hate you, praying for those who mistreat you. And it goes on, but it can all be wrapped up in the 31st verse. Do to others as you would have them do to you. And that is the perfect test to live by. It applies to everything. When you're hungry, you want to be fed, as does everyone else. When you're tired, you want sleep, as do all. You want shelter and clothing, peace and love. Well, who doesn't? We all want companionship when we're lonely. We want shelter when we're unhoused or the storm rages. We want protection from the villains of the world, their greed and their violence. We want to be surrounded by those we love and all to be well in their worlds. We want our God to hear our prayers, forgive us, and welcome us home when we leave this transitory life. And why would we not want all these things for others? Somehow these notions are easier to follow than either the 10 Commandments, which is full of thou shalt nots, but gives you an easy out when it doesn't cover the particular misdeed you're about to commit. And definitely easier than the great commandments of Jesus. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these 2 commandments hang all the laws and the prophets. Well, to start with, it really is 3 commandments: loving God, loving your neighbor, and loving yourself. And loving is such a problematic thing. Obeying God, revering God, being in awe of God, fearing God, all those are possible. Loving God for life, loving God for forgiving us, loving God's creation, those are really just self-centered appreciations for what we are given. How do you love something you have never touched or seen or heard, a being that you can't even imagine? The majesty, the power, the infinity that he is known to possess. A being known only through reading the Bible and listening to the minister's interpretation of God while preaching on Sunday morning. There's nothing like the love you get when holding your newborn in your arms, or of your spouse as you celebrate your 25th anniversary, or of your mother kissing your skin knee all better. And loving with all your heart and soul and mind, how do you do that without stopping loving everyone or anything else? I know that love multiplies and just seems to miraculously appear out of nowhere, but this sounds as if it is so exclusive. All in all, a real challenge to do or to understand. And if that weren't enough, the next part is loving your neighbor as yourself. That's a neighbor whose fence blocks your view down the street, or plays rap music into the wee hours, or whose cat sees your koi pond as a buffet table. You can discipline yourself to forgive, but to love, that is a challenge when there is nothing lovable about them except that, like you, they are God's children. But then there are lots of times when one doesn't love their real life sibling. And finally, loving as you love yourself. That's probably the most problematic. We each know our own darkest secrets, where we've failed, where we've doubted, the things we're most ashamed of, and the betrayals and the confessions that didn't stop the same deceits happening again. We know how unworthy we are of Christ's sacrifice. We know we do not deserve the love and joy and delights we have had in the past and in the present. So when we think about the love we have for ourselves, we know how marred and scarred and imperfect we are, and sometimes wonder how anyone could love us, including ourselves. Which may lead us to be able to love the annoying neighbor because we know our own misdeeds outweigh theirs. But it's still a pretty imperfect kind of love. Which brings us back to why I prefer Luke's recording of the teaching of Jesus when he said, "Do to others as you would have them do to you." That is pretty easy. I want them to forgive and forget anything I did that wronged them, which gives me a reason to return the favor. I want to help. I want help when I need it, which inspires me to do the same. I want to be cared for when I cannot care or feed or clothe myself. So why would I not return the favor? And that is probably the best I can do to love another, my neighbor, including all the neighbors of the world. I do want to be better. I do want to care and to help and to follow in the footsteps of those who also try to obey the great commandments. But in the meantime, I will try my best to treat others as I hope others will treat me. And so I pray, Blessed Trinity, know that I want to do what is right. I want to love you as I ought. But until I learn to do that, please help me in my learning to care for others as you so lovingly care for me. Help me to live and love the very best way I can. So may it be. Amen.